Hello, friends. We are back in our space and time machine. I just made that up. Into 1953, where P.S. a lot of news happened. Like a lot of shit happened in 1953.
Yes.
First up, LOL, the U.S. and North Korea signed an armistice ending the Korean War. And we all know how that went. For the next, 70 years?
Yes.
So... a little known fact about Allie. I don't know that I've talked about this on the podcast before. I'm obsessed with North Korea. Obsessed. I've read every book about like a displaced North Korean that like escapes to the South. I have read all of the like think pieces. I've like gone on rabbit holes to see pictures of I'm obsessed with North Korea. So sorry, Big Brother, if you're listening right now, but I mean no harm, but I'm like kind of obsessed with North Korea.
I mean, it's worthy of being obsessed about. I mean, the idea of somebody, a culture that is so cut off from the rest of the world. I would be really interested to kind of know what's the daily life like of a North Korean citizen. Like, I don't give a shit about Kim Jong-un.
No.
Who cares? But yeah, I mean, it is kind of an interesting thing that they are so cut off from everything.
Right, and like curiosity killed the cat. I mean, I'm not gonna go to North Korea right now, but maybe I would. I don't know. I think it's just so crazy. Moving right along, Queen Elizabeth II, whom you may have heard of, is crowned at age 25, and as we know, just passed away this year. So,
yeah,
R.I.P. Queen Elizabeth. Joseph Stalin dies. So I'm telling you, 1953, bastion of history here. Top of the Pops, a song I've never heard of, but it is the song from Moulin Rouge by Percy Faith featuring Felicia Sanders. All of those names seem made up.
Okay, Percy Faith is like an old band leader, and he's so like, white bread 50s. I just... imagining Percy Faith doing a version of Lady Marmalade just tickles me to no end. And so just this whole string of words together, I just find really funny.
I wish that he could be like the rap part. I do love Lady Marmalade, the remix from Moulin Rouge. Eric's favorite movie, in fact.
You know what? No, but I do love that song. That song slaps.
It's a great song. It is a great song. Box office champ of the year, Walt Disney's Peter Pan.
Which I loved as a child. I realize it's very problematic, and I understand all of the criticisms, but when I was a child, I did really, really love that movie. Yeah, I was Peter Pan for Halloween when I was 5, and it was my favorite Halloween ever, mostly because I didn't have to wear a mask, and I loved that. Everyone else is behind those horrible plastic masks, and you can't see and you can't breathe, and everything smells like plastic. And
so bad.
My mom made me a Peter Pan costume using my sister's old ballet tights that were green, and just she cut the rest up from felt and put a red belt on me, and I was done, and I loved it.
That's so cute. It's so cute. Yeah, I mean, we all wanted to be Lost Boys, because how fun was that to have no rules? But yes, a very problematic movie.
Speaking of the movie that we are about to discuss, of course, Tinkerbell was heavily influenced by Miss Marilyn Monroe.
Oh, is that so? I didn't know.
Yeah, because Tinkerbell was always kind of this almost scary kind of sprite thing, and on stage was always, of course, invisible. Right, it was a little laser pointer that they just used, and you heard tinkling bells, but you never saw a Tinkerbell. And of course, she's supposed to be tiny compared to everything else. So when Walt Disney said we need to make a sexy little fairy, they just took one look at Marilyn and said, yeah, we'll put wings on her and shrink her down to, fun size. And there we are. That was Tinkerbell.
That's your memoir name, Sexy Little Fairy.
Hey, stupid.
And then last but not least, the best picture of 1954 was From Here to Eternity, a movie I have never seen, other than I know that there's a romp in the sand.
A very scandalous romp in the sand that was one of the nails in the coffin of the Hays Code.
Oh.
People were shocked by Deborah Carr and Burt Lancaster rolling around in the waves.
Is that the one that Madonna remade?
No.
Okay.
Swept Away is the one that Madonna remade.
Oh, okay.
And my hottest movie take, by the way, in history is that Swept Away, starring Madonna, directed by Guy Ritchie, with its 5% on Rotten Tomatoes, is actually a fun, decent movie.
Huh. That is a hot take. I mean, I've not seen the movie.
Saying it's genius. I'm not saying it's genius. It's not the best movie ever made, but people were really mad at Madonna for saying she could be an actress, and they were really mad at her marrying a film director who was quite widely known as being a quality film director, and getting him to cast her. The knives were out before that movie even hit the screeners, and they were ready to tear her a new one, and they just did. They all made up their minds before they saw the movie, and it's a fun, funny little romp. It's fun.
People are mad about that. I mean, clearly they're not theater people, because that's like why you join a company, so you don't ever have to audition again.
Absolutely. But it was the marriage thing, though. It was like, and they all believe, here's this, non-talent who wants to be a movie star. How dare she, when there are serious actresses out there who've studied, and here comes this pop star, who wants to be like, whatever. But they were all like super duper pissed. And she's funny in the movie, and it's a comedy, and she's funny. And she does comedy well. She's got a sense of humor, Madonna. She's got a little bit of comic timing. So I don't want to wax rhapsodic about it too much, because it's not that big of a deal, but it's decent. It did not deserve 5% on Rotten Tomatoes, and it certainly shouldn't have ended anybody's career.
That's weird, though, because that's like after Dick Tracy. That's after the Something About Susan or whatever. It's after
Desperately Seeking Susan. Matt. Come on, Susan. Come on now.
Welcome to the Rewind Project, where Allie, Matt, and Eric take another look at your favorite milestone movies through the lens of our present day. Will it be a skip, rent, or buy? Stay tuned and find out.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Rewind Project. I am Eric.
I'm Allie.
Matt.
And Matt, you sound so sexy.
Welcome to Rewind.
Oh, yes.
Okay, well, clearly watching a movie with Marilyn Monroe, Shake Her Tush, got Matt in some kind of mood. Because we are here today to talk about Gentlemen Prefer Blondes from 1953. It is the 70th anniversary of this particular film. Directed by Howard Hawks, of all people. Screenplay by Charles Lederer, based on the musical comedy by Joseph Fields and Anita Loos, which, of course, was also based on the novel Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, the Intimate Diary of a Professional Lady, also written by Anita Loos in 1925.
That's a lot of source material for this particular movie. That's all I'm going to say.
Well, I will tell you, when I rediscovered this movie like a year ago, because this is how obsessed I am. When it gets close to when we pick movies for the next year, I actually get on and I start watching some movies that I might think would be good too. So when I was thinking about pitching Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, I watched this movie and I was like, it was a novel. And Edith Wharton called the Anita Loos novel the great American novel. And when people said, oh, that's so funny, she's like, I'm not kidding. Because this book is truly about America with all of what's wonderful about it and all of its warts. And it's a first-person narrative written from the point of view of Lorelei Lee. But the story is completely different. Like, the character's kind of the same, but all the situations, Gus is not there. There's no Dorothy Shaw. There's no Diamond Tiara. There's no... all of it is by the time it got to this movie version, it bears no resemblance other than the name and kind of the aspirations to marry well. That was it.
So I do have to ask a question. Professional Lady suggests something.
It does. It does. And so Lorelei Lee in the novel was not a sex worker. She was not a prostitute. Okay. But she was a lady who was going to make money off of being a lady by marrying up. That was her. Gotcha. That's where professional lady comes from. It's like, I'm doing this as a profession and I will do well in this world by being sexy and pretty and landing myself a real rich husband. And I believe in the book, she lands herself a couple of rich husbands. And so it just kind of goes on and on. There is a transatlantic cruise involved, but nothing else is the same.
This reminds me of when I was a junior in college and I really wanted to invite to a specific fraternity dance at the end of the year, like semi-formal dance. And so I called it Eyes on the Prize. And my objective that semester was to get an invite to this party. And you know what? I fucking succeeded. So
there you go.
Any of my AU folks, it was the Pike. It was the first Pike formal. And I successfully got an invite. And that was my goal junior year.
Okay.
Allie Jenkins, professional lady.
Professional Allie Jenkins, professional sorority lady.
So notable achievements for this movie, there aren't many. There were no Oscar nominations for Gentlemen Prefer Blondes. There were no Golden Globe nominations for Gentlemen Prefer Blondes. There was one lousy nomination from the Writers Guild of America that had a category all about best screenplay for a musical.
That's very niche.
Yes, and Charles Lederer got a nomination. He did not win. The only place that this movie shows up anywhere on any of the AFI lists, Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend is number 12 on AFI's 100 Years, 100 Songs. So individual songs that were staged for film. This one shows up, not even in the top 10. And there you go.
Cool.
But the legacy of this film, I think, is, listen, you say Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, and most people have not seen it, but they know what it is. They know it's a Marilyn Monroe movie from the 50s. Most people have seen something to do with that pink dress against the red wallpaper surrounded by guys with diamond bracelets. We're all familiar with that kind of iconography. So I think it has, it's lived for 70 years. Allie and I both actually picked it. We only had one pick for 1953, and Allie and I both went to this one.
Which is crazy.
We should talk about it, so you consider all the other things. I mean, we could have talked about From Here to Eternity, but no one picked that one. So here we are.
Yeah, I mean, I've never seen this movie before, so this is my first time. But I obviously know the iconic scene. I know the song. I know the name of the show. But yeah, it was not. It's not a movie what I expected. It was, as I said to the boys before this, I went on a real journey with this movie, like high highs and low lows, definitely.
So the plot, if you will, Lorelei Lee and Dorothy Shaw, two self-described little girls from Little Rock. By the way, Lorelei Lee in the book actually was from Little Rock, Arkansas.
Oh,
I
cool.
think that's where they got the song. I never got that the song at the beginning was anything other than a nightclub act these two girls were doing. I don't know where they came from, and I don't know that they grew up together in the same small town. I think they just sang a song together in a nightclub. But anyway, they take a trip to Gay Paris, and a lot of the movie takes place on the boat on the way to Paris, and then there's a little bit of drama once they get there. But basically, it's kind of a road trip movie just across the ocean, really, with a couple of romantic entanglements happening along the way. I mean, am I wrong?
No, it's like Britney Spears' Crossroads. I think that's a good.
Brittany would love to be the modern day Marilyn Monroe.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know if she qualifies in my mind, but fine. We'll let Brittany have that one. Put down the knives, Brittany. You're going to hurt yourself. Okay, so let's get into this cast. Even though she got second billing,
right?
There's
shocked.
Well, Jane Russell was a much more established performer with a much longer resume in 1953, but clearly the star of this film, and there's no two ways around it, is Marilyn Monroe as Lorelei Lee, who was the protagonist again of the book. Jane Russell's character didn't even exist in the book. So, I mean, and Jane plays the friend. Marilyn Monroe is definitely the it girl. Everyone who's listened to me for even a little bit, having me talk about Marilyn, knows I believe Marilyn Monroe is so underrated. Hugely famous and underrated is a hard combo to hit, but I think she does it. So I'm a huge fan, but I'm curious what you guys just think of Marilyn Monroe in general, but also in this movie.
Loved her in this movie. I really did. I loved her in this movie. I love the character that she portrays. And when we talk about Jane Russell's performance next, I realized, and it never had dawned on me previously, that this entire persona of Marilyn Monroe's is just a persona. And it just kind of proves how smart of a person she actually probably was, that she just gave men what they wanted at all times. That's why she was cast in a lot of these things. I don't think she was this person all the time, but she has this amazing April Girl persona that she just kind of puts on, and it's evident inside this movie because that's who Lorelei Lee is. But she's not stupid. She's absolutely not stupid. She knows what the score is at all times.
Yes, and I think this is one of the reasons why this is one of my very favorite Marilyn Monroe performances. Most of the time when you look at these all of Marilyn Monroe's movies ranked, Some Like It Hot is going to show up as the best Marilyn Monroe movie of all time. That movie is really about the two guys in drag who are, running away from the mob. And they, Marilyn Monroe's this girl singer who's, she's heavily featured, but it's not about her. This is probably my favorite Marilyn Monroe performance for a lot of reasons, but it's basically what you just said, Matt, is that she's so sexy. She's so beautiful. She's luminous, and you cannot take your eyes off of her. And everyone thinks she's really dumb, and she's not. And to me, that's exactly what I think about when I think about Marilyn Monroe, the person. Not stupid.
I have a lot of thoughts about this particular movie. I like Marilyn Monroe. I feel it's really a very tragic story. And actually, when I was, I love to watch this on Prime where I can read the X-Ray and I can read about the people. And Jane Russell also had kind of like a tragic, not as tragic as Marilyn, obviously, but sort of a tragic, this was her high point in her career, which we'll get into in a second. I don't know. I have a real aversion to baby voices in life, in movies, just at all times. And obviously that was the persona that she was putting on. And so it was real nails on a chalkboard for me for a lot of this movie. Like I just kind of wanted to punch her in the face. While also recognizing the luminosity and the gorgeousness and just that sort of whatever brings men in, I get all of that, but like, yeah, when I was saying real high highs and real low lows, like at first I was like, I can't stand this character. And then like, I kind of loved the character and then I didn't love it at the end. And I just, it was really, I was trying to separate Lorelei Lee from Marilyn Monroe. And it was hard for me to do that. And I know that was some of her detriment in real life as well, which is kind of what you said, Matt.
Yeah, it's just nobody can talk like that 24/7. Like nobody has that persona 24/7. And it just took me a while to realize, wait a minute, this is just something she did to make it in a patriarchal world. And it's like she did it really well. She gave men exactly what they wanted, and they didn't even realize she was doing it. And that's like, I was just like, oh gosh, she's the smartest person in the room. That's just crazy.
I think a lot of times Marilyn was the smartest person in the room. And, she had her demons. Look, I mean, she was also the person who, have you ever seen My Week with Marilyn, which is when I decided that Michelle Williams could do absolutely anything, because I was offended that anybody thought they could actually play Marilyn Monroe in a movie. And then Michelle knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, she was amazing.
But, she wouldn't come out of her dressing room. She had huge insecurities. She, thought she had no talent and it drove her nuts. And she had to have an acting coach come with her to every single film and kind of like talk her off the ledge. Apparently making this movie, she and Jane Russell became real good friends in real life. They were not competitive. They really kind of supported each other. And Jane's job was going to Marilyn's trailer every day and coaxing her out so that she could be on set and do her thing. I mean, she had troubles and she was probably difficult to work with and lots of other things. I mean, I'm a stan, but I'm not so much of a stan to know that, she's an imperfect person. But she is the smartest person in the room so many times. And yet people still, I think about Marilyn Monroe as this ditzy, dumb blonde who just kind of, wafted her way through Hollywood and never had a plan and never had, a brain in her head and just kind of, everything was handed to her because she was pretty. And that is not who she is. And it's, and I love this movie for that. Those moments where you can see that that Lorelei has a life philosophy and a way of looking at things that may be different, but it's thought out and it's a philosophy. Those are my favorite moments of this whole movie. And I think she just pulls it off so well.
Well, and I love that her whole persona is that she wants to marry up, but she doesn't have to rely on a man. And I think that there's two different things of like wanting to marry rich, hashtag who among us. And also, like being able to live your own life. And, that's not, her life doesn't hinge on meeting a man because she's perfectly capable of taking care of herself, which I liked.
She can. And I love the scene with her and Jane Russell on the deck of the boat where she's like, Dorothy, I don't want you to live in a loveless marriage. And Jane Russell's like, what? All you talk about is money. And she was like, yes, if you're always worried about, where the next meal is going to come from, you can't possibly think about how much you love your husband. And I'm like, she's not wrong.
There was some logic to that.
I mean, a lot of couples break up because of money or sex. So it's like,
you know, she's not wrong. I mean, it might not be your outlook on life, but she's not mistaken. Anywho, let's move on to top build. Jane Russell as Dorothy Shaw, the brunette that apparently gentlemen do not prefer, if one is to believe this title. But I thought she was great, and I thought she was a lot of fun. Jane Russell as Dorothy Shaw.
I love this character. I loved what she stood for. She is like me 70 years ago. I was like, how can I incorporate her athletic song as an audition song? It's so good. And yeah, I loved everything about Dorothy Shaw. A+, no notes for Dorothy Shaw. And I don't really know Jane Russell very well, and I really liked her. I really liked her too, and I liked and I know we're going to get into this, but like as a female with a lot of female friends, I liked the two of them together. I thought they played off of each other really well. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
she was fantastic on screen, as delightful as Marilyn was, just in a different way. And it was great to see in 1953 a woman that could use her sexuality and just enjoy her sexuality.
Yeah,
and it was amazing. So
I mean, I feel like Dorothy Shaw walked so Samantha Jones could fly.
Interesting.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, she's somebody, she likes sex. And she likes virile, handsome men. Mm. I mean, when she finds out that she's on a transatlantic cruise with the entire U.S. Olympic squad, her eyes light up. Like, and then when she finds out they all have to go to bed at 9:00, she's like, "What?" I mean, you know, she's got her eyes set on her prize just as much as Lorelai does. They're just different prizes, you know. But she is a very sex positive woman, you know, yep. And at the end of the movie, Marilyn Monroe's got this great, you know, piece about how, well, it's just like men like pretty girls. Why shouldn't I want a rich husband? Doesn't it help? And Jane Russell likes pretty men. Mm-hmm. She likes men with big muscles and big something else's that, you know, make her happy at night. And I'm like, you know what, Dorothy? Live your best life.
Me too, Dorothy. Me too.
And sadly for both Jane and Allie, they are two very sex-positive women who surround themselves almost completely with gay men. Because that number in the gym was the first time I ever saw it was in the celluloid closet, because this is like a prime example of putting gay people on screen without ever saying they're gay. But the joke of the entire thing is that not a single man was looking at Jane Russell at all.
Oh, interesting.
They were so into their workouts. But I mean, there was something that, and I think that, you know, today, a lot of people would look at that and say, well, they're not necessarily gay. And it's like, well, okay. In 1953, when gay people could not be on screen at all, gay audiences saw this and went, oh my God, she's in a room full of gay men. And isn't that hysterical? And that was the entire joke, was that they were all so into their workouts and each other that they didn't pay her any mind whatsoever. Wow. And so when she says, is there anyone here for love? It's like, well, maybe, honey, but not with you. Which, by the way, I think this is one of my fun facts, but I'll go ahead and cheat right now. That was not supposed to happen. She was knocked into the pool by accident. Just total pro, played it off. They used the cut. And thank God she wasn't wearing a sheer white top or,
it's so good.
Makeup that ran, because she would have looked like holy hell when she got out of that water. But yeah, apparently when she ducked under, and you can see her duck under so that people could, you know, dive over her. And one of them, their foot catches on her and tumbles her into the pool. And she was like, I'm going to keep going. Let's just see if it works. And it did. And the director loved it. So,
oh, that's awesome.
Jane Russell, everybody. Now let's get into some of this supporting cast. Marilyn Monroe's goofy, nerdy, super rich boyfriend, Gus Edmund Jr., was played by one Tommy Noonan.
Gus is just such a doofy name. Mm-hmm. Like, you know that if you have a character named Gus, we used to have a basset hound named Gus, which is a perfect name for a basset hound because they're like, boop, boop,
yes. In which case, August Edmund Sr. sounds a lot different than Gus.
Yeah.
You know,
he was perfect for the role, but he was just kind of a potato with glasses on screen.
I did enjoy the moment when they kiss at the very beginning, and you literally hear the birds tweeting around his head as he stares vacantly off into the distance. But yeah, I mean, this is somebody who, you know, is completely wrapped around her little finger. And the only thing keeping them apart is that his father is dead set against their marriage. But if it wasn't for that, and if it wasn't, he's just as much of a, under his dad's thumb as he is wrapped around Lorelai's finger. And it's those two opposing forces. It has nothing to do with what Gus wants, because if that were all the problem would be, the movie would be over in 5 minutes. Like, Gus would marry her and it would just be done. So he is kind of a nothing character.
Exactly.
I did really kind of, though, not like him as they were saying goodbye in their suite. And, he gave her this whole thing about how, can I trust you? And it's like, you do or you don't, buddy. And if you don't trust her, get on the boat. But no, your daddy said you can't. So guess what? You can fuck off. And Marilyn Monroe is going to, travel across the sea with maybe find another rich husband, and you'll have lost out. So sucks to be you.
I mean, he obviously Lorelai had all the power, which is how it should be at all times for women.
Okay, that's all we're going to say about Gus. There's not much more to say, really. I mean, he's just kind of there. He's absolutely necessary for the plot, but other than that, he just kind of exists in the world.
Yeah.
Somebody who got my motor running a little bit more, I will say, is Ernie Malone, the private eye, who was sent to trail them, played by one Elliot Reed, who I'm not familiar with, but I found him charming.
I did too, but it's kind of like that episode of Seinfeld where, the girl, she looks great in certain light and then not in other lights, and I couldn't tell if he was attractive or not. And I think it was partly because of the costuming. They kept putting him in very dumpy-looking clothes that did not do anything for his figure. And I think at the end in the wedding scene, when he's in the tux, looked fantastic. Who doesn't look good in a tux, honestly? But I realized he was very attractive there, and I found him charming throughout the movie, and you could tell that he really does like Dorothy. But for most of the movie, because of the way they costumed him, I was just like, huh? And I spent too much time wondering if he was attractive or not. I just couldn't tell.
That is so gay male gaze.
I know.
I liked him when he jumped on the scene. I thought he was kind of a jerk halfway through, and again, I mean, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but it is me, so I'm going to. These people meet in 5 days and then they get married. Spoiler. It just, that was hard to take. And, I liked him, though, and I liked that he was, I thought it was a little bit more nefarious. I thought that maybe Lorelai had, I don't know, embezzled money or something like that, or done something really bad, but that's also where my mind goes. And it was really just the dad that was trailing her. So
yeah, and just trying to see if she was cheating. I mean, really, and just wanted some photographs that would kind of wake Gus up that this lady's a tramp. And listen, playing peekaboo with Sir Francis Piggy Beekman, might qualify. I mean, those were incriminating photographs. They did want those back. But listen, he should have come on the boat. That's, because the truth is about Lorelai, she might cheat on you if there's something better out there. But if you put a ring on it, she would, the way the character is drawn, she would be absolutely faithful. There is no doubt in my mind at the end of this movie, Lorelai is not going to be cheating on Gus.
No.
She's going to be, hopelessly devoted to the man who gave her that big hunkin' rock on her finger. And she'll live the life of a rich old money socialite, and she'll love it. Period. End of story.
They don't know that he was just playing the python.
Which part of him was playing the python? I wonder.
There's another kind of snake involved in that embrace.
Which brings us to Charles Coburn as Sir Francis Piggy Beekman.
I mean, they could they have gotten a more unattractive Englishman? I don't know. I don't think so.
I think they tried to go for as unattractive as they possibly could. I think that was their point.
Yes, I know, but ooh.
If it had been the 1953 equivalent of a Sean Connery in his prime, I think that would have been but he's kind of sexy. Is that part of why? No, he owns a diamond mine and her eyes light up, and that's the end of the story.
Oof. I mean, even a diamond mine, I gotta give her credit. I couldn't do it.
Well, and to Lorelai's credit, she was really just befriending. I really do feel like she was just befriending Sir Francis Piggy Beekman. I don't know that she was trying to seduce him so much, but she was definitely trying to be a good friend of his.
So, Matt. When she pouts and says, but she has you, I just want your diamond tiara. I mean, yes, she's trying to get diamonds out of him. She's not, I don't think she cares about being his friend. She is definitely using her feminine wiles to win him over. I mean, she is appealing to Piggy's little piggy.
Base level.
Let's not get it twisted.
To his ego. She is not, she's appealing to his ego there. And she knows what she's doing. And she is not prepared to have sex with this man. And so
I'm not saying she's going to have sex with him. I'm saying she's working him up into a lather where he wants nothing more than to have sex with her. So his brain is so clouded, he gives her a bunch of diamonds. But I mean, she's definitely using sex to get what she wants. I don't think she's going to have sex, but also because it's 1953. If they made this movie today, they'd probably just, that would be a done deal. I mean, it's kind of funny that, she is kind of looked down and people who reacted to this movie were like, oh, these women are so unsavory. All the things we love about them, critics in the 1950s did not like about them. They thought these were terrible role models for women. But we're also supposed to believe because it's the early 50s that they're both virgins somehow, which is just kind of funny to me. Yeah, exactly. Big old wink on that one. But, but they never talk about actually having sex. Jane Russell just wants to cuddle. That's all she wants. Sure. Yeah. Yeah. So a couple of people I just threw in here as honorable mentions because I wanted to talk about it. One of them was Norma Varden as Lady Beekman. Did you recognize her? Because I recognized her immediately.
She seemed familiar, but
she did seem familiar, but I couldn't place her.
Okay, so here's a hint. You're very lucky. With Fräulein Helga, it was a snake.
Is she the head housekeeper for Sound of Music?
Yes, that was her.
Holy shit.
Absolutely. When they put a frog in Julie Andrews' apron and she was yes, you're very lucky. So as soon as I saw her, I was like, holy shit, it's the Sound of Music lady. So I had to, little throwback in there, had to put her in. Because,
oh man, when are we talking about the Sound of Music? Because I could talk about 5 hours. That could be a 5-hour long podcast. So I gotta look at the date of that. Yeah.
But she was, and she's also the one that let Maria know that, new curtains have been ordered tomorrow. Nonetheless, new ones have been ordered. And then, that was her.
We all know what happened next.
Yes, that was her. So she was appropriately condescending and kind of bitchy and rich old money British lady. It was fine. I mean, as a performance, it was fine. I just loved kind of seeing her. And maybe the best comic performance in the entire film, in many ways for me, was little George Winslow as Henry Spofford III. Best sight gag in a million years. I mean, I will say so much of this movie is very predictable. The first time I saw it and Henry Spofford III actually showed up for dinner, I laughed so loud.
I mean, I didn't like him at the dinner table, but then he grew on me. And then
when he's trying to charm her when she's halfway out the window.
That was funny.
And he's putting the moves on her and he's like, using his best lines. The kid is what, 7?
Yes, maybe.
I mean, so funny. So anytime I see a child performance on screen that's not terribly annoying and make my teeth itch, I feel like it's worthy of mention because it's possible, Hollywood, you can find non-annoying children. And
I know that's your bar.
To know that.
That's your bar, non-annoying children.
It's actually a high bar.
Well, maybe. I mean, on screen, I don't know. I mean, kids, listen, kids are kids. And if if you're parenting one, no thank you. But they get annoying, and that's just, there's no such thing as a non-annoying child 24/7. On screen, we should have more non-annoying children. It's possible.
I mean, I generally, as an actress, I do not like to act with children, and I'm doing Gypsy next year, and I'm going to have to act with children, and it's going to be real hard. It's going to be real hard.
So as Ali alluded to before, I think the thing that I really noticed about, this movie is kind of this, this girl power kind of feminism thing. And it's this thing that did not play well at the time, but I think has aged incredibly well. That first of all, a lot of critics really hated the idea that we were making heroes out of these two women. But there are some feminists today who say, yes, they're in pursuit of a man, but it's 1953. In the context of 1953, these are two women with agency who are doing their own thing.
I mean, I love that. I love that. Sisters before misters, always and forever. And I have a lot of lovely female friends, and I cherish those friendships very much. And that's why I loved the friendship between the two of them so much. And yes.
And by the way, Matt and I are considered sisters in this particular analogy, not misters, because
yes,
not.
Absolutely. Sisters before misters. It's my version of bros before hoes, basically.
Yeah. And yet still nicer. Like, that's just a much nicer thing.
How about that? How about that? Not an incel, thanks.
So yeah, I mean, Matt, did you find this to, were you looking for deep statements about feminism within Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, or did you have any kind of feelings about that at all?
I was not looking for that when I was watching this movie, but that it rings true because I really did enjoy the idea that, they were just traveling on their own. They were doing their own thing. They were empowered by their own sexuality, which was like really surprising for a film from 1953.
Yeah.
So that was really enjoyable about the entire movie.
Now, the thing that I did notice, even though I was not also looking for any kind of deep statements about anything while this is going on, but I did notice right away, as soon as Dorothy got the idea that her new main squeeze was actually a private eye who was spying on, she did not have a moment of moral quandary about what do I do about this. It's like, oh no, I'm sticking with my friend. Mm-hmm. This guy can kick rocks.
Yep.
And that was like, and even at the end when she, it's that she really, really likes him. She'd like to have a future with him, but she tells him in disguise, my friend Dorothy really likes you, but if you do anything to hurt Lorelai, it's over.
Yeah.
And that's like her condition, which is when you think about, this trope of women who just, they will do anything and fall over themselves just to get a man. That is not Dorothy's primary goal at all. I think Dorothy's a better friend to Lorelai than Lorelai probably is in reverse. Lorelai gets her in a lot of trouble.
Probably.
Doesn't do it to get her in a lot of trouble, but just gets her in a lot of trouble. Like Lorelai would be a very inconvenient friend to have. I want Dorothy Shaw in my corner. I tell you what, if you're going through some shit, Dorothy is ride or die.
Hey, she almost went to jail. So
she did. And she was willing to, put herself in a position to maybe go to jail when she didn't even take the fucking tiara, that was and Lorelai didn't take it either. I mean, it truly was a gift. She wasn't lying, but she also probably should have known that you can't take a $10,000 gift that technically belongs to the wife and think you're going to keep it. Like, that was maybe a little silly, but
$10,000 then, which would probably be like $1 million now.
Oh, yeah.
Also, that tiara was so ugly, but I know that's neither here nor there. But
I thought it was so funny that she, you must think I was born yesterday. You can't put diamonds on your head. It's a tiara. I love finding new places to wear diamonds.
I don't remember them now, but there were a couple of moments in this movie where I straight up laughed out loud.
Yeah,
there were definitely a couple of moments like that.
And the other thing, was that that scene at the end, where Lorelai is just completely unapologetic. I do love the line, I don't want to marry him for his money. I want to marry him for your money.
I know.
Talking to the father. I mean, she's not trying to put one over on anybody. And I think that's actually why Esmond Sr. is kind of charmed by her at the end, because he expects to meet some gold digger who is going to tell a bunch of lies about, I just love Gus for Gus. And she's like, no, I want to marry a rich man, just like you would want your daughter to marry a rich man. And it was like, ooh, slap. That is 100% true. And she makes a really great point.
She's very, very factual about her desire, and it's it's not couched in anything. It's not malicious. It's like, this is what I want, and this is how I'm going to go about and get it, and by golly, I'm going to get it. The end.
She's a practical girl, and she's got the assets she needs to get what she's after, so she's going to do it.
And she can be smart when it's important.
I can be smart when it's important, but most men don't like it.
Yep.
Is that quote? Yes, beautiful. Okay, so there's not much deep stuff to get into with I want to say Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend, like it's the name of the movie because it's so iconic. But no, Gentlemen Prefer Blondes. I also am staring right at it on my outline, which is my cue to move on. So y'all ready for some fun facts about this little ditty?
The more fun, the better.
Okay. This number that is the thing that lives on forever, Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend, has been imitated by so many entertainers, more than, almost every. So Nicole Kidman in Moulin Rouge enters with this. Again, not my favorite film, but the lasting legacy of this particular song is proven by the fact that she enters with that one. Margot Robbie in Birds of Prey does a number very similar to Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend. Christina Aguilera in Burlesque, which we have discussed on this very podcast, does a Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend homage.
Yes, Burlesque is apparently being made into a musical, Broadway musical. So
I'm for it.
Somebody's like, was that your game on the Rewind Project? I'm like, no, we usually don't make musicals out of existing musicals, but yes, they're doing it. And Christina is an executive producer, but apparently will not be reprising her role. I think she should play Cher's role at this point.
Right?
That'd be cool.
Why not? A musical about air rights. Sure. Why not?
There have been musicals about way less.
Yes. Miss Piggy did a version of this on The Muppet Show.
Iconic.
The cast of Glee did a take on Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend in a medley with Material Girl, which is probably the most famous homage to Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend. Of course, she wasn't singing the song. Madonna was singing Material Girl, but half the video was the pink dress and the diamond bracelets and the velvet gloves and the whole. I mean, if you watch the video now, right after seeing this movie, there is no question in your mind exactly what she is paying tribute to in that video.
Well, and obviously this is my first time seeing the movie, so it was very interesting. I know it from Material Girl mostly, and just to see the actual scene, and it's fabulous.
Yeah. And it's one of those songs, like we talked about this, at dinner last night, Matt and I, but this is a musical, but it doesn't really feel like a musical. Like there aren't that many songs, and there's no typical, there's no I Want song at the beginning. Instead you just get two little girls from Little Rock. Some of the numbers are diegetic and some of them are not, meaning that they are existing in the reality of the movie. And then sometimes just, I hear a song coming on and a non-existent band starts playing and we all go into a musical number. Some of them kind of make no sense, like Bye Bye Baby when they're all leaving. I got the idea that this is just a song that Dorothy Shaw sings at the nightclub all the time because she's singing a song to a bunch of men saying, please be true to me while you're gone. But she's staying on the boat with the Olympic team. Right. So, the lyrics kind of make no sense a little bit until the girls who are leaving and Lorelai and Gus kind of take a bridge of the song. Then the lyrics make a little bit more sense. It doesn't really feel like a traditional musical, and yet this song is just so... First of all, it's a brilliant song. The lyrics are real clever. The song's super catchy. It was made to be a legendary musical number. But weirdly, have you all ever seen Carol Channing do this song?
No.
Because Carol Channing was the original Lorelai Lee on the Broadway version of Gentlemen Prefer Blondes.
I have a really hard time seeing that.
This is how Carol Channing became a star, was playing Lorelai Lee in Gentlemen Prefer Blondes on Broadway, singing Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend.
A kiss on the hand.
Quite continental.
Diamonds are a girl's best friend.
Watch it on YouTube. It's great.
That's wild.
It's great. But, she's younger than we typically remember Carol Channing being. She is, lithe and looks lovely in her dress. She does have that iconic voice. But for her, it's a comic number. And for Marilyn, it's a sexy number. And it can be both because it's a very malleable song that you can do a lot with. And, my point is you can do it completely different ways and they both work real, real well.
It's a great song, though. I watched this last night and I've been singing Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend all morning to the consternation of literally everyone around me.
Yeah. And the other songs are great. When Love Goes Wrong, I think is a great little number that turns into a big dance number with a bunch of, Parisians sitting around the cafe. We've talked about Ain't There Anyone Here for Love. super fun and lots of eye candy. So, just enjoy that for purely aesthetic reasons. Those flesh-colored
I was gonna say
bathing
it's like
suits.
it doesn't even look like they're wearing anything. Nude.
No, that's the
nude.
whole point. They're surrounded by gorgeous naked men. I mean, what can go wrong? When it comes to the singing, Marilyn did most of her own singing, but there are a couple of operatic notes at the beginning of Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend. And I was like, that's not Marilyn, and looked it up. Sure enough, Hollywood's favorite ghost singer, Marnie Nixon, lent her pipes for just a couple of operatic high notes. And then Marilyn did the rest. And somebody said when they were looking at the rushes, apparently, for this movie, who did you get to do Marilyn singing? And they're like, that's Marilyn. She's doing it herself. They were shocked.
I was shocked. I thought she surely was dubbed. And then when I read your outline, I was like, oh, shit.
No, she can sing.
That's awesome.
I mean, listen, she's got a baby doll voice even when she sings. She's not a belter. She's never going to play Mama Rose. But, for what it is, when you needed to have her sing the right kind of, in Bus Stop, she sings really badly because that's what that character does. But she can pull off a song, sure. Like I said, Jane Russell's Ain't Anyone Here for Love is discussed in detail in the Celluloid Closet because it was considered to be one of the most homoerotic scenes from the 50s ever made. Poor Dorothy.
It's a great song.
And, another fun fact that I let the cat out of the bag, she wasn't supposed to fall into the pool, but she went with it because she's a pro, and that's the cut that they used. Matt, your favorite line, I can be smart when it's important, but most men don't like it, was written by Marilyn Monroe because that's who she is. And she knows that, and that's just
smartest person in the room.
There you go.
Love it.
She thought that it was the most honest reaction Lorelai could have had in that moment. So she went after it. Finally, I thought this was kind of fun. Gwen Verdon was brought in at the beginning of the setting to be a dance and movement coach. Apparently, when Marilyn and Jane performed together, Marilyn was so sexy and Jane was a little bored, and they did not look good together.
I love that.
Not only did Gwen need to amp up Jane's sexuality, she was also asked to coach Marilyn how to tone hers down a little bit so that they could match. And when they do, Little Rock at the very beginning and they're dancing in tandem, they look like two very well-matched showgirls. So good job, Gwen. You did well.
I will say Marilyn Monroe is a really good dancer, too. She's very fluid when she dances.
Yes, she can move. I mean, I don't think she's no Debbie Reynolds, but...
Yeah.
But I mean, she can definitely move, and if given choreography that is within her. But yes, during Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend, she's spinning around and she's running up to, this, that, and the other thing. She's in control of her body. Let's just say that.
Yes.
All the time.
All the time.
Okay, y'all ready for a game?
Yes.
Okay, this is just a regular old casting couch. I'm just bringing a classic out of the...
Oh, we haven't done one of these in a while.
We are remaking Gentlemen Prefer Blondes. We're keeping the story, but perhaps, listen, we can keep Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend because there would be a riot if that song weren't in there. But, we might be ditching some of the songs that have been forgotten to history and bringing somebody new in to write new songs. Because guess what? They did that when they made the movie anyway. A lot of the songs from the original Broadway show got cut. New songs were added. Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend was a holdover because it's a great song. But not all of the songs you heard in the movie were also heard on Broadway. So we're going to do that. I'm going to ask you who is playing our quartet of leads, our love interests here. So we're looking for new actors to play Lorelai, Dorothy, Gus, and Malone. Who's writing these new music and lyrics? And while we're doing a remake, is there anything you're doing that's a little different to either update it for a 2023 audience or just make it different than what we've seen in the past? So, Matt, I'm going to ask you to go first.
Okay. So as I was going through this, trying to update and trying to step outside the box, I went with an all African-American cast.
Okay.
Or actually black cast, because one of the people was actually not American, so you can't really say that. So my Lorelai Lee is going to be played by Janelle Monáe.
Oh, nice.
Brilliant.
Gorgeous. I think she can do this part. She does comedy well. Dorothy is going to be played by Denny Benton, who I'm not as familiar with. She's on Gilded Age, but she's also a Broadway actress.
I think that's Danae. Is it not?
Yes. I think it's Danae.
My Gus is going to be played by Sam Richardson.
Yeah.
From Veep, and he was in After Party. He was also in Ted Lasso. He's hilarious. I actually would like to amp Gus's character up just a little bit so he's not just a potato on screen. I want some more emotion and some more character, so I'd probably add a little bit more to that storyline.
Which is why you didn't cast the guy who used to play Urkel.
Julia White.
Because if you needed a potato on screen, you've got one. But
He's sexy now.
He is kind of sexy, but he could do nerdy again if you wanted.
Yes.
He could be sexy nerdy if you needed him to. He might not be bad.
Yeah. My Malone is going to be played by, I'm going to get his wrong, Reggie Jean Page. So from Bridgerton and
Reggie Jean Page. Oh my God.
He's hot.
So hot.
Yeah, I want Malone to actually really be sexy. So
Reggie Jean Page is supposedly one of the names they're floating around for the new Bond.
Really?
Which I would be all about.
Interesting.
My God. Yes.
Yes. I am all for that. And then I was going to have Janelle Monáe do the actual music and lyrics too. I think
she could do it.
Yep. So that's how I would have it, be more African American centric. And so let's change the story up. Let's, that's how I would actually go for it.
Well, and clearly there's a strong African American entertainment vibe happening in the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what you're doing in terms of period, but of course Josephine Baker went to Paris because she couldn't get great gigs in the U.S. And so if you wanted to even fold in a little bit of history there could be a reason why they're headed to Paris.
Well, and that's why I thought I would leave it in 1953 to begin with, because Europe was Europe was ahead of us. So I really feel like them being in Paris would have actually made a lot more sense. So.
Yeah. I like it. I'm into it. Allie, what you got?
Okay. Shockingly, went in a totally different direction, but I thought musical Marilyn Monroe. I don't know if any of you were Smash fans, but I loved that show, and they were making a musical about Marilyn Monroe. So why am I not casting Smash actors in our revival of Gentlemen Prefer Blondes?
Okay,
so,
you saw me roll my eyes. I did not like that show, but I liked all the actors.
Okay.
So
it was very bad, but I was also obsessed with it for whatever reason. So my Lorelai is going to be Megan Hilty, of course, for many obvious reasons.
Beautiful.
My Dorothy is going to be Catherine McPhee. Of course.
Why not?
I thought she was pretty good in that show. Do I love her? Do I think she's the greatest actress ever? No, but they already have a chemistry, the two of them. So I feel like they could just get right into those roles. My Gus is going to be Christian Boyle, who is pretty nerdy. Mm-hmm. You would know him if you saw him, Matt.
Okay.
Yeah.
I saw him on Broadway. I think I saw him before he left Something's Rotten. And I was supposed to see him in Little Shop, but his understudy was there. No, I did see him. I saw him in Little Shop before as well.
Yeah. And wasn't he in Take Me Out? He might have been in Take Me Out too. So he's done a lot of stuff. And then my Malone is going to be Leslie Odom Jr. because
which Matt and I are going to go see a Leslie Odom Jr. film tonight.
Oh,
we are going to see The Exorcist Believer.
Oh boy. I don't know how
wearing one hot and sexy Leslie Odom Jr.
I mean, he can do no wrong in my book. And then we're just gonna take the music and the lyricist from Smash, Mark Scheinman, who's done a bunch of stuff, obviously on and off Broadway, and he can just kind of tweak the songs, maybe add a couple more, play to the strengths of my cast. And yeah, I'm not going to really do much zhuzhing for 2023. Transatlantic cruises still exist, and I think it's kind of a timeless story. Maybe they wouldn't be showgirls, maybe they would be something else, maybe they would be Broadway performers, or going to the USO or something like that. A little bit of a switch like that. But I think that the general story is kind of timeless.
Cool. Cool. Well, I'll tell you, as much as I did not enjoy Smash, I love all of those people and would absolutely watch that. The thing about Smash, and this is, why I didn't like it, and everyone thought I was such a nerd, but I'm like, you can't make a musical about Marilyn Monroe with a bunch of belty songs in it. We all know what Marilyn Monroe sounded like. We just talked about the fact she is not a belter. If I went to go see a musical about Marilyn Monroe that had people belting to the balcony, I'd be like, no. No. No, 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 no. So I hated that. And I just thought the idea of these two women competing for a role for 2 seasons or however long it went on. It was
2 seasons.
ridiculous. Like, make a choice and just, oh my God, the show would be on its feet by now. And you're still like carrying on this audition drama. Couldn't handle it. Okay, so my film version of Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, I decided to take it a little bit back to the original source material. Not that we would be getting rid of these storylines, which I really enjoy, but I would be taking it back to the mid-20s. So Flappers, Jazz Age.
Amazing.
All that kind of everything about the look that engenders, all that great stuff. I wanted actors who were not in the super duper young, because I want them all to have a little bit of mileage on them, but also, as per usual, the first actors I thought of were way too old to do this, because I'm an old and I tend to think that way. So I had to go online and look, and I wanted actors who were really, really good and really funny who could also sing. I want everyone to do their own singing. So definitely needed actors who had some musical talent. So here we go. My Lorelei Lee is going to be played by Anne Hathaway.
Okay.
Oh,
Because I think Anne is really likable. And I think that Lorelei has a very strong, and we've said practical, worldview, but one that in the wrong hands, you could easily dislike this woman. And so I think that Anne Hathaway plays, if you tell her I need this girl to be real likable the whole time, she could do that. She has an Oscar for singing in a movie, so done. Dorothy, I wanted Halle Bailey to play that role. Follow up to Little Mermaid. Girl's got some pipes on her, and I think it'd be fun to see the two of them cross the Atlantic together. And also, I was thinking, Matt, in terms of what we were talking about already, there might be a good reason for. I don't like the idea of people doing things without something in it for them.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea that Dorothy's just going to get on a boat and go to Paris for no other reason than to be the chaperone, because Gus needed his girlfriend to have a chaperone. That's the only thing about this that kind of bugged me. And I thought putting Halle Bailey next to Anne Hathaway, she'd be like, oh yeah, Paris, let's go. I'm out of here. Because my career could do a lot better over there in the 20s than she could be, probably getting next to no decent work in New York at the time. My Gus, I wanted him to be hot, nerdy, but hot. And I was like, actor who can sing, who is hot. Zac Efron showed up on my Google search, and I was like, and we're done. That would be, that'd be fun. And then my Malone, who I also needed to be super charming and super duper sexy, who could also sing, Taron Egerton. I'd make him do an American accent, but he would be playing an American kind of, but next to Zach, he could be a little scruffy, and he'd be a little bit, not quite that old money kind of thing. And I would just love to see that all happen. Now, when it comes to who's writing the music and the lyrics, I've said for the longest time that I wish there's a woman who I just adore. And I thought ages ago, you know what, when she gets to the 2020s, she could make a great living writing music and lyrics for Broadway, because she writes really fun, funny songs that fit periods. But instead, she's decided to try to be a relevant pop star well into her 60s. But I would get Madonna to come in and write all the music and lyrics in the vein of most of the songs that she wrote for I'm Breathless, the Dick Tracy kind of takeoff. Cry Baby, I'm Going Bananas, Back in Business. I mean, she writes some really great tunes that don't sound like they come from the 20s. They land on modern ears a little bit better than actual 20s music, but they can evoke that time period and also be really funny and really sexy and a little naughty. And I'd want all of that going on, because I just think it could all be very fun and very charming. So I would watch any of these three of Gentlemen Prefer Blondes in a heartbeat. They all sound really fun.
All good.
Okay, so we have reached the end of our conversation about Gentlemen Prefer Blondes. It is time for our ultimate showdown of skip, rent, or buy. I chose to illustrate these with lyrics from so our skip, when love goes wrong, nothing goes right. I hated this movie. Eric, why did you make me watch it? Rent, great line from Jane Russell's song in the gym. I'm apathetic and non-athletic. But one way or the other, it's fine. You watched it once. Don't ever need to see it again. Buy is more of a talk to me, Harry Winston, tell me all about it vibe. I'm really excited about it. I would watch this movie again and again. We're going to go in reverse order. So, Allie, where are you when it comes to Gentlemen Prefer Blondes?
I mean, I was all three of these things while I was watching this movie. It changed basically every 15, 20 minutes or so. I started out and I was a skip and I was like, what is this movie? It is very unserious, and not that I thought it was going to be, like a crime drama or something.
It's not Ibsen, as we like to say.
It's not Ibsen, yes. And then I got into it, and then, the ending was kind of whatever. I would say let's even it out. I'm a solid rent. It was an hour and a half, #blessed. It was very light and fun and fizzy, like a delicious glass of champagne. The Technicolor was beautiful. I love a fun musical number. So yeah, I would say in the end, I'm a solid rent.
Matt, where are you?
I start off with a rent. I'm almost a buy on this. The weird thing about the movie for me is that it isn't really a full musical, and I found that slightly off-putting, like every now and then when the musical number would start randomly, and it was just like it didn't make sense, but you still enjoy the musical number. But it being 90 minutes, it's like you can't not enjoy the film. So, and all the performances were solid. So, I mean, honestly, I'm kind of stuck between a rent and a buy. Actually, I would say a buy. I could see putting this on like when I'm cooking and just like watching it again, like as I'm getting stuff done. I mean, this is definitely something if a friend wanted to watch it and they hadn't seen it, I'd be like, yeah, let's throw it on. It's a good movie. So I'm a buy for this film.
Okay, awesome. I'm an already own this movie. I put it on, when I put it on last year, it was purchasable for $5, and I went, sure. It was rentable for $4, and for another $1, 99 cents, you gamble in case you ever wanted to watch it again, you could. Mm-hmm. So I just went ahead and bought it. And this time around, I didn't have to rent it. I just fired it up. And guess what? I'm really happy that it's in my collection. This is something that I could, again, 90 minutes. I want to watch something that doesn't make me think too hard, that is just delightful. And again, I just think Marilyn's so wonderful that, I was there. So, I'm a buy with this one, too. Again, please, if you've never seen this movie and you're listening to this pod, do not expect anything too deep or profound.
No.
Just because it got 2 buys and a rent. It's just fun. Mm-hmm. It's just fun, fizzy, and delightful. And, I'm glad you all enjoyed it. Next up, we are in 2 weeks' time. We are going to be previewing our final season of the year, the films of 1948. They promise to be a wild ride. Most of our old movie segments, it's kind of like, okay, some of these look nuts. I mean, straight up
bananas,
crazy town. So, we should have a good time going back 75 years to discuss 7 different films from 1948. So I hope that you will join us. Our next episode is just going to be a preview. Here are some movies from 1948 that we're not watching, but then here are the 7 that if you're inclined to do homework along with the Rewind Project, we're going to spell it all out for you. These are the films that you'll want to watch. Until then, be kind, rewind, everybody. I'm Eric.
I'm Allie.
I'm Matt.
And this is the Rewind Project. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
You've been listening to The Rewind Project. You can find us wherever you get your podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Radio Public, and Google Play. Please subscribe and rate us. It helps a lot. We love your comments and questions. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and via our new phone number at 202-618-2402. Thanks for listening. Be kind. Rewind.
A kiss on the hand.
Maybe quite continental.